Eugenie Sage.
On the Environmental Protection Authority Protection of the Environment Amendment Bill. And it's interesting, the previous speaker saying that this bill is a political act. Well, actually, I thought we were involved in politics in this place. The Green Party is very pleased to support the bill because it was the absence of a purpose of protecting the environment that was controversial at the time the Principal Act was passed, and this bill in Meka Whaitari's name seeks to rectify that. Now, certainly the establishment of the EPA was supposed to be a milestone for environmental management in New Zealand. At the time, back in June 2010, the Minister called it a strong, independent regulatory agency to ensure the protection of the environment at a national level. And it's got a very broad role and quite wide functions. It regulates the use of hazardous substances and new organisms. It administers the NZTS. It manages the effects of extractive activities in the exclusive economic zone, and it makes decisions on nationally significant proposals which are called in under the Resource Management Act. So it's quite a small agency, but it's got a very wide-ranging statutory mandate. And it's a really challenging role for the EPA because it can't readily anticipate the scale of the work because that's largely driven by the applications that come to it. And this agency, it's got about 180 employees. It gets about $21 million annually and from the Crown, and then gets another about $11 million from the recovery costs when it charges applicants for considering and deciding on applications. And it was interesting, Mr Speaker, in doing some research around this bill, that there was a directive from the Cabinet that MFE review the EPA's performance. And that review focused on an evaluation of the efficiency and effectiveness of the EPA, including its governance, and a review of the fiscal sustainability of the EPA and an evaluation of its cost efficiency. There was nothing in that review, which was done in 2014, about how and whether the EPA was actually contributing to an improvement in environmental management in New Zealand, to an improvement in the state of our environment, and that highlights precisely the defect that this bill is intended to remedy by putting the protection, maintenance and enhancement of New Zealand's environment at the heart of the Principal Act as part of the purpose of the Environmental Protection Agency. And the 2014 review focused on the quite mechanistic objective which the EPA currently has, which is, and I quote from Section 12 of the Principal Act, to contribute to the efficient, effective and transparent management of New Zealand's environment and natural and physical resources, and to enable New Zealand to meet its international obligations. So it's quite troubling that we don't have a purpose of protecting and enhancing and maintaining the environment. That's why the Green Party is supporting this bill, because it recognises that that is crucial and that protecting the environment is at the heart of a healthy society and a healthy economy. And Mr Foster-Bell's comments about the work of the EPA and some of its decisions and his sense of disappointment were quite troubling, because in this review document it made the comment that the EPA risks becoming a bureaucratic, process-driven regulator which is precautionary in delivery of its regulation because it isn't accessing the best expertise, ensuring the excellence in its operational processes, nor does it have the right structural arrangement in its legislation. That is troubling because it suggests that the government, in the light of the EPA's decision around the Chatham Rock phosphate application and around the decision for seabed mining off the Taranaki coast, and around the Board of Inquiry's decision on the nutrient limits in the Tukituki Board of Inquiry decision, that potentially the government may be looking to amend the legislation to restrict the EPA to prevent it being an obstacle to the government's extractivism agenda: drill it, mine it, frack it, irrigate it. So the fact that the EPA has been implementing a precautionary approach on applications like Trans-Tasman is because the EZ legislation includes that. That's why this bill is important, because it is embedding a commitment to environmental protection at the heart of the Principal Act, and the Green Party is pleased to support it.